Hi, I'm Author Louis Paul DeGrado. In this video, we're going to talk about the people across the sea. First, I'll tell you what the people across the sea is about by reading the back cover. Within the towering walls of the city by the sea, a dark secret is kept. Its history was wiped out 200 years ago by foreign invasion, and even now the city stands poised to repel another attack from the dreaded people across the sea. A culture based on fear and the threat of invasion has spawned a leader, a council, and the law of survivors. Aldrin Alfer is now the keeper of the law and the council leader. He knows the hidden terror that threatens to rip the city apart. Sons of Aldrin, Britt and Con Alfer, find themselves caught in a web of danger and mystery. Britt finds himself on the run from the Black Guard, veiled men who prowl the streets and crush any who oppose the council's will. While Con remains in the city struggling to hold his family's position on the council, Britt heads into the forbidden desert to seek out the wizard, a man with strange powers who was banished from the city. In the company of the wizard and the mystical desert wanderer, Britt will find his destiny. He must cross the land of the sand demons, fierce predators who stalk the desert, where he searches for a way to carry out his father's plan to lead the people to safety and end a threat from the people across the sea. So The People Across the Sea was my third novel published. I took a break. I had done a juvenile fiction and a high-end science fiction. The juvenile fiction was selling well. The People Across the Sea, this was a time when Lord of the Rings was very popular. There were a lot of shows on about warriors and wizards, and that probably inspired a little bit of it as well. The cover, of course, The People Across the Sea, it's about an invasion, so the city is on a coast, so the cover is of a coast, and it's about warriors, including a female warrior. The male warrior and a female warrior on the cover. The funny part is when the artist designed this cover, the sword is supposed to have power, and the bolt of lightning that's coming down from the cloud is actually supposed to be voltage of electric energy coming out of the sword. I did catch that, but it was already so late in the design, I just decided to let it go. Not many people are going to notice that, except me, the author. And I really was pleased with the cover because it was one of my first fantasy type covers, and it to this day remains one of my favorites. What inspired The People Across the Sea? I kind of already talked a little bit about the times, but I also wrote in the front cover what inspired it. During this time, I took a lot of vacations, staying in Colorado, which is my home state, and one of the things I studied was the ancient Indians, and there was a lot of talk about why did this peaceful civilization build some of the structures they did, or why did they leave the area, and one of the thoughts was warfare. So that kind of inspired the book, is some of these concepts. While studying the Anasazi and visiting many of the ancient sites, I contemplated the effect an invasion would have on a relatively peaceful society. What type of culture change would result from such an event, and how would the people of that society view the world around them? This story is a result of that vision. A culture based on the constant threat of invasion creates a law needed for survival. This is a tale about good versus evil and the courage it takes to overcome fear and face destiny. So that really is a dilemma in here, is these people face this constant fear of invasion. Even the ones alive today weren't the ones that were invaded, but these stories have been passed down for generations, and so that fear still exists. In fact, what this city has done is they've built a wall, a coastal wall, and everybody serves in the military. So they have 3 different armies, including night army to watch at night and patrol the city at night, exterior army, and then a guard for the council to rule the city. One of the fun things I had in doing this book was developing all the characters, and this was my first complete journey into fantasy world. Savior is based on some true science fiction and reality. takes place in our time, just in the future. Uh, the Roundhouse and Quester's Adventures takes place in the past, but is based on our current timeline, where the people across the sea is complete fantasy world. So I really enjoyed coming up with this whole society, the council that rules by this iron fist of laws. This is what we need to do to survive. The different armies. I even put in this character called the Wizard. That's this fabled, powerful being that lives outside the city walls, but people don't dare to go see him. They don't even really know what kind of powers he has. I also put in these sand demons. There's 3 different types, but that's where the dilemma is. Not on the types of sand demons, but here's this people, and they're stuck in this city that's on a coast, and they have this big ocean in front of them, yet no one ever comes back from the ocean, and that's where the invaders came from, so they're afraid to go that way. And behind them is this vast desert that no one's ever returned from, which, by the way, is occupied by these creatures called sand demons. They're like a large teethy alligator, and they hide under the sand, and when they hear vibrations, they attack or eat. They're not vegetarians, by the way, so they eat the people traveling in the desert, which is why no one comes back. So really the fear of these invaders and the threat, hey, we can't escape either way, so we have to build this army, and there's this dilemma. There's always fear at night. The city is not allowed to have any lights. Any place that's open or houses all have double doors and windows barred, so that any small candle light whatsoever can't get out. In the beginning of the story, there becomes a conflict with the ruling family, and so you got this already bad situation where they live in fear. They're trapped between the sea and the desert, and now there's conflict within the society. So it really starts getting interesting. What's the mystery behind the conflict? A lot of covert operations, a lot of secrecy. What's the secret in the desert? Who is the wizard character? And I talked about the sand demons. Introduced the one, but there's 2 others, and the 2 others can actually take human form and disguise themselves. So we're not sure what all powers they have, but one sand demon can actually fly and has the power of flight. So some very interesting characters. Really enjoyed writing this book, and that's the introduction to the people across the sea.